So here's what to actually do when you get fired, laid off, or quietly walked out the door. We've all been there. And I'm going to make an argument that's going to sound insane for about 90 seconds, and then I hope it will be obvious for the rest of your life. Getting pushed out of your job might be the single best thing that happens to your career this decade. I'm not saying that from the cheap seats. A while back, I left the CEO seat of a company through a buyout. So I've sat on both sides of this, the side that hands someone the packet and the side that carries the box to the car. I want to tell you what almost nobody does with that moment and what a small number of people are quietly using it to do instead. So let's go. Let me see if I can pull this off. First, we have to kill the story in your head. The story is that getting let go is a stain, it's a gap on the resume. You'll spend 2 years explaining it to everyone else. That story is about 15 years out of date. Look at the numbers. Median job tenure in the US is now 3.9 years, the lowest in almost 2 decades. For workers in their late 20s and early 30s, it's 2.7. That's not a career anymore. That's kind of a lease on your employment. And getting cut is no longer rare or shameful. In one analysis of millions of resumes, nearly 1 in 4 workers said they'd been laid off or fired in the last year. More than half now carry a 6-month plus gap somewhere in their history. The gap isn't the exception anymore. The gap is the data. Here's the part that should take the weight off your shoulders more than anything else. More than half of the layoffs tracked this year name AI or restructuring as the cause, not performance. You didn't fail a review. A spreadsheet got reorganized and your name was in the wrong cell. And honestly, that's how it works. That's not a verdict on you. That's a business deciding it wanted a different shape. So if the stain is gone, we can ask the real question, the one that nobody is really asking out loud. Is getting walked out even bad anymore? Look at what actually comes with it. The average severance package in 2024 ran about 19 weeks of pay. 19 weeks. That's up roughly 75% from just a few years earlier. 5 months of salary. For a lot of people, it's the first time in their working life they've been handed a block of paid time with no job attached to it. And it gets stranger. A lot of these agreements include something called garden leave. That's not a metaphor. It's a recognized legal category. It means you're paid your full salary while being contractually forbidden from starting another job for a period of time. Think about that. The blackout clause you resent, the reason you just can't jump to a competitor and it pisses you off, is the company paying you not to work for a while. We have a word for being paid not to work while you figure out what's next. It's called a sabbatical. Professors take them, executives usually dream about them. You just got handed one, and you're treating it like it's an emergency. Now, I have to be honest because the whole point of this channel is no hype. This isn't universal. If you're a contractor, if you're an hourly worker, if you're at a small company or you were let go for cause, you may get nothing. And I won't pretend otherwise. That's not the purpose of this video. Non-competes are really still enforceable, despite what people tell you in a lot of states. So read your paperwork, talk to a real employment lawyer. This isn't legal advice before you do anything. This is a real growing perk of salaried white-collar work. It is not a safety net for everyone, but say that honestly, and the rest of this argument I think will hold up. Okay, so you've got some money and some time. Here's where almost everybody gets it wrong, including those job agencies that your employer probably paid for. They panic. They open the job boards on day 2 and they start firing resumes into the void, competing with everyone else who just got cut for a shrinking number of jobs. They spend the whole sabbatical reapplying to the exact kind of job that they just got let go from. Don't do that, not yet, because you're carrying something out the door, in my opinion, that's worth way more than the severance check, and it's decaying week by week. Trust me, it's not on a hard drive. And to be clear, I am not talking about proprietary data, customer lists, source code, anything that belongs to your former employer. Take none of that. I'm talking about the thing that lives in your head and legally comes with you, your judgment. What deals actually die in a week and why? Which stakeholder quietly kills projects? What customers say they want versus what they're willing to pay for? Why the workflow breaks on the third handoff? 20 years of pattern recognition that no course can sell and no competitor can buy. And here's the thing about that knowledge. 2 weeks after you leave, you still have all of it sharp. 6 months later, it's a fog. The single most time sensitive asset in this whole situation is the expertise in your own head. And the clock, honestly, it starts ticking the day you walk out the door. Now, overlay AI on top of that, and you get the reason this moment is different from any other time in layoff history. There's a study out of Harvard and BCG that everyone quotes and almost nobody reads correctly. They gave consultants ChatGPT 4. On the right kind of tasks, the AI users were about 40% higher quality and 25% faster. Now, honestly, that's huge. But on tasks that fell outside what the AI was actually good at, those same consultants were 19 percentage points more likely to be wrong. The AI had confidently walked them off a cliff. And here's the punchline. The only thing that told you which task you were on, inside the frontier or over the edge, was domain judgment, experience, the exact thing you just spent 20 years building at that former company. That's the whole game. AI has made good-looking output cheap and infinite. It has not made judgment cheap. A junior person with a chatbot can generate a beautiful, confident, completely wrong answer and have no idea. You can look at the same output and know in 4 seconds that it's wrong because you've lived it. Generic AI skill is already a commodity. Everyone can prompt, but your context is not. What you left the company with is not. Domain expertise plus that AI fluency, that's the arbitrage. And right now, you're one of the very few people holding both halves. And the bar to hold that second half it's really lower than anybody wants to admit. Now, 90 days is not going to make you a machine learning engineer. I won't lie to you and say it will, but 90 days will absolutely make you the most AI fluent person in your specific niche. Not the world, your niche. And that bar is on the floor right now because your competition is a field of experts who haven't really even started this journey. The part that makes this low risk instead of a gamble is that the work you do during the sabbatical feeds 3 different exits at once. You don't have to pick today. So exit 1, you consult like me. You go back into your own industry as the person who finally speaks both languages, the domain and the tools. The second exit, you build. And this is more real than it actually sounds. A full software stack for a one-person business now runs a few $1,000s a year because the AI absorbs the work that used to force you to hire a team of people to do it. I do that every day. There are now more than 100,000 one-person businesses in this country doing over $1 million a year. And that's a category that basically didn't exist a decade ago. Exit 3. You go back as a far more valuable hire to another company or a fractional one. Companies today are hiring fractional executives at a pace they never used to on retainers that would have been a full salary just a few years ago, precisely because they want the judgment without the headcount. The same body of work, 3 doors. You build once and you choose the door when the paid time is running out, not a panic on day 2. So let's get concrete. How do you actually spend the 90 days? Because most people spend it wrong, and I want to save you from the most expensive mistakes you make. Do not go sign up for the $10,000 AI course. Just don't do it. And I'll tell you exactly why with the numbers. Free online courses get finished by somewhere between 5 and 15% of the people who start them. A third quit in the first week. You already know this because you've got the half-watched courses to prove it usually somewhere in your email list. Here's why that matters, and it's the contrarian core of this whole thing. A course sells you content, and content is exactly what AI just made free and infinite. You'd be paying a premium for the one thing that has no scarcity left. That's why you won't finish it, and even if you did, it would teach you AI in general, not AI in your world. So here's what to do instead. Day 1, the day after you walk out, while it's all still sharp, believe me, start dictating. Just talk, maybe into your phone. Everything you know about your customers, about how deals really get made, about the mistakes you watch people make for years. Pattern knowledge, not their property here. Get it out of your head before it fogs. Then make that your very first AI project. Take that pile of dictation and build it into a personal knowledge base, a custom AI trained on what it means to be an expert in your field. And notice what just happened. Building that thing forces you to learn the actual tools, the models, the context, how to structure knowledge so an AI can use it. The excavation is the boot camp here, And when you're done, you don't have a certificate, you have an asset. You own it that no one else can really build because no one has your 20 years of experience and context. Now, where do you get help if a course is the wrong move? You don't buy content. You buy the one thing that actually is scarce right now, a finishing structure. That's what one-on-one coaching gives you, a path built for your specific niche and someone who makes sure you actually cross the line. Cohort and project-based programs get finished at over 70% versus, remember, that 5 to 15% of courses. You're not paying for information, you're paying to finish. That's what's important. And find your people. Don't do this alone in a room. That's how a sabbatical quietly turns into 6 months of doom scrolling on your phone. Honestly, that's part of why we're building something called Vibe Lunch, just a group of people learning these tools and actually applying them in their own businesses, trading what works. It's coming soon. I can send a link out, but join that or just join something else. I generally don't care which, but get around people who are building because a community is the difference between a plan and a habit. Then the only rule that matters, ship one thing a week, however small, one artifact every single week out into the real world, not one more video watched or one more thing read. Actually build something and publish it. So here's where I'll leave you. The old script says getting walked out is the end of a chapter and you should sprint to start the next one, exactly like the last. I think that's the mistake. They didn't end your career. If you play it right, they funded the next version of it and handed you the one thing you could never get while you were employed, a block of paid time and a reason to finally learn the tools that are currently reshaping your entire industry. And the only way to waste that is to spend it panic applying for the job you just left. So don't relive the layoff, use it. Get the expertise out of your head while it's still sharp, build the thing only you can build, and find your people and ship every week. Do that for 90 days and you don't come back as someone who got fired. You come back as the most dangerous person in your niche, the one who knows the work cold and knows the tools better than anyone else who does. That's not a consolation prize, by the way. On a long enough timeline, that might be the promotion that you were never going to get if you had stayed with that company in the first place. I'm Dan. This is Rocket Tools, and go build something.